Well, welcome back to Pastor Plek's podcast. I'm your host, Pastor Plek, and we have a full house this morning, and I'm pretty pumped about all that are in studio with us this morning. We have our women's director and instructional designer with us. I know this is a big deal, and that is Ashley Elliot. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, this is a big deal. So everyone should be pretty excited that we have Ashley on here. Her theology knowledge is like through the roof.
Solid.
So anytime,
I thought you were going to say it was a bomb.
It is a bomb.com.
It's a bomb, not bomb.
All right. So, and then also we have none other than Catie Sas.
Hey, how's it going?
Yeah. And then also Jacob Laldin, the fearless intern.
Hello.
Yeah. So we're gonna recap our Sunday. We talked about really the peace that Christmas is supposed to bring. And Catie, when you think about Christmas and peace, do those two usually go together for you?
Not usually.
What is sort of the, when you bring those two together, what's the Christmas and what?
Chaos.
Yeah, that's what.
Yeah. It's a good word.
That was a good word. Yeah, so the opposite of chaos is peace, and so that's what we were really looking for out of this sermon from Sunday. And I think there's a couple reasons why we have chaos and fear. Maybe it's like, or we don't have peace during Christmas, and it's because with the fear of the unknown, and there might be different people at Christmas that get together that you're afraid of them getting together. Mm-hmm. Is that the case for you?
Oh, yeah, I just don't want to be around him, so.
For me, it's anxiety. I'm just like, when can I go, like, be alone or in my comfort zone with my people?
Okay. Yeah. So, like, you have your whole family's been here for like a week.
Yeah, my family's been here. They'll be here for 10 days. It's been great, but man, I go home and like, I just feel like my shoulders tensed and like.
Really?
There's no me time.
Is it?
Yeah, there's no me time.
So it's not necessarily that there's like arguments breaking out. It's just
not at
like,
all. It's great. It's very happy and joyful, but I'm just sitting there kind of like on edge. Like I come home from work and I'm like, all right, I feel like I'm kind of still at work or something, like hanging out around my family. Like, what are we going to do? We have to do something.
I think that's being intentional with your family, though. Like, if you're intentional when you come home, then it's something that makes you like, it feels like work, but it's good work. It's rewarding.
Yeah, I think, listen, once you get married and you have kids, you work every day when you're home, no matter what.
Yeah.
Wow.
Sometimes more than actual work.
Yeah, it's actually harder work than the work. Like, you come to work to get away from the work of being at home.
There's a lot more on the line with work at home.
Yeah. Yeah, there is a lot online. So,
Yeah.
you're compressing a year's worth of emotion, a year's worth of catching up into a 10-day span, roughly, right?
Yeah.
And so that's a lot of pressure.
I never thought about it like that, but it makes a lot of sense as to like where that pressure comes from because it's kind of confusing sometimes. It's
Ashley,
like, man, I love him so much.
How about you? Like, are you guys going to Oklahoma or what's
We always see both sides of the family since one's in Dallas and one's in Oklahoma, so we just make a little wild dog circle, as my dad likes to call it.
Wild dog circle. I like that. All right, and are the holidays a peaceful experience for you, or is it filled with consternation?
I think they're peaceful. It's always nice to, we don't have family here, so it's always nice to go home and they love the kids and they want to let us take a nap and they'll go play with the kids, and that's been really helpful. Also, I really love the ambiance of a fireplace.
Oh, yeah.
And the cold weather. It feels like Christmas, so we always make it work.
Yeah, and Oklahoma's way colder than Texas.
It is. I think the low's going to be 5 degrees when we're there. Yeah.
Gosh.
Oh, wow.
How cold is it going to be here, though?
You've always been
Like 20.
intentional with your family, like going home. Like, I feel like every holiday, like, you're in Oklahoma and, like...
Yeah, I mean, we want to do that as much as we can because we live so far away. Far away, it's a 5-hour drive, but it feels far away when you have a 5-hour drive with 2 children.
That makes it longer.
Yeah.
It turns a 5-hour drive into maybe 7 or 8 hours, and then and maybe part of that's like you lose a year of your life on the back end. So, all right. So sometimes it's the fear of the unknown, of the chaos that's about to come. How about maybe you want to force your way? Is there any time you try to control anything, Catie? Do you like? Do you ever like control conversations or like people being around each other or anything like that?
Ever since my parents' divorce, it's like I remember my wedding feeling so stressful because I knew that my family was like they were all going to be together.
Yeah.
And that gave me so much anxiety because I'm like, oh, wow, like my parents are going to be together and then like, new husbands and girlfriends, and it's just going to be crazy. So I think now that I have a 2-year-old, I kind of bring the chaos upon myself because I try to control my 2-year-old, and it doesn't work. It's just not. So, like, I feel like if there's any time that I'm feeling stressed or anxious, it's because I'm, like, choosing to feel stressed and anxious instead of just embracing this season of life.
Okay.
And, like, not trying to do all the things. And, I was just reading a post this morning on social media of, like, hey, moms, it's okay to, like, not do all the Christmas things for your kids this year. It's not, you don't have to do all of that. And so, like, yeah, that's true. Like,
what stuff are you not doing that you wish you were doing or thought you should do? Or
Well, it's kind of like you see all the pictures of like baking cookies with your kids and like making muffins and doing like decorating your house. I kind of had to come to terms this year with like we don't really have the budget to like elaborately decorate our home for Christmas. And so I had to just kind of make do with what we had and go like, okay, am I trying to like decorate my house so that I can show everyone, like so that I can like look like we have this like to a T decorated home, or am I just gonna like enjoy my home the way that it looks?
Jacob, how much are you putting into decorating your home?
Absolutely nothing.
What's on your walls? I
Yeah,
really
do you have
wanna
anything
know.
on your walls?
I do. We put up a little Christmas tree and there's some lights on it. It's kind of cute. It's also kind of pathetic.
Like a Charlie
But-
Brown.
Charlie Brown tree?
Yeah.
All
But
right.
it's fun. It's fun. Yeah, I don't know. I don't really spend a whole lot of time at home, so I kind of just go home, eat some food, and go to sleep.
Yeah. Well, that's
couldn't
good.
tell you what's on my
As a
walls.
young
The
man
typical
should.
single guy.
I love
Yeah.
it.
That's
That-
our next service project.
Yeah, but we're gonna we're going to Jacob's
come on
house
over.
and we're gonna help decorate. Well, how about Amanda? Doesn't she care about that stuff or no?
Yeah, so I actually live with my sister at the moment, and the house is very decorated.
Okay.
Y'all would never know I live there.
Oh, well, okay, yeah, and
So thanks to her,
Right.
the house
Yes,
looks
thanks to
livable.
her and her alone, the house looks great.
okay, all right, good.
And my parents.
All right, but back to the bigger question of control or forcing your own way. Ashley, is that anything that do you ever have a struggle with forcing your own way?
Oh yeah, I'm a type A personality. I like control, and if anything, I've learned that I really have control over nothing. And COVID taught me that, having 2 children during COVID and nobody being able to come to the hospital, and just really not even people being able to visit, us not being able to go to Thanksgiving last year because we had a 3-week-old and my husband got COVID. So I'm just learning that we just go with the flow. It makes things a lot less stressful for me and then therefore a lot less stressful for everyone around me.
So, is there any particular family member you try to control the most, like whenever the holidays come?
Probably my husband.
Okay. All right. How does that go?
He's really loving and gracious to me. And he'll be like, "You're doing it again." I'm like, "Oh yeah, okay." So we have like a little code system.
Oh,
that
that's
we-
good.
that
That's
we work
good.
on,
Oh,
yeah.
That's very helpful. Yeah, you might need a code system.
Yeah, for Ava. I mean, I don't ever.
So you don't try and
It's
control
not-
Ryan?
No. He tries to control me, so I have to tell him like, "Hey, babe, you're parenting me again. So
Oh.
can you like not do that?" And so then he has to kind of be like, "Oh yeah, all right."
Okay.
So it's the other way around for us.
All right, so is there any part of Christmas that feels futile? Like, why are we even doing this? Why do I even care? Do you ever go there?
No. I really love Christmas and I enjoy Christmas. And I think growing up in, a broken home, like now that I have my own little family, I want to create traditions and I want what I didn't have. And so like I cherish everything about getting to spend Christmas with Ryan's family because they have traditions and it just feels more wholesome. And so I want to emulate that.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. So in our text from Sunday, we went to Isaiah 7, which is the famous passage of Isaiah 7:14, where the virgin will be with child, and you will give birth to the virgin will give birth to a child, and we call it Emmanuel, which means God with us. And where that comes from is the nation of Judah is being attacked by Israel and Syria, and King Ahaz is terrified and just simply, he's a scared dude. And so God comes to him through the prophet Isaiah and says, hey, don't worry about those guys. They're just, and I like the term, they're two smoldering stumps of firebrands, which just means they're two put out cigarette butts. And then he says, listen, Israel will only be a nation within the next 65 years. You don't have to worry about them. And the reason why he's telling him this is that there's a tendency for King Ahaz, because he's one of the evil kings, to go run to Assyria, which was the next global power that was rising up. And he was like, vying to be a puppet king of them. And so what Isaiah is saying to him, you've got to stand firm in the faith in God, not run to a country or a power that feels like they could protect you from Israel and Syria. And so then he presents him with this, hey, listen, I promise this is going to happen. And if you just trust me, you're going to be good. In fact, here's one of the ways you can trust me. Ask me for a sign as deep as Sheol, as low as hell, or as high as heaven, I will do it. Which, honestly, this is where, think about something. If God said he would do anything just as a sign for you, Catie, what would you ask God to do for you?
Just help me to not yell at my kid. I don't know. Like, it's just, that's like literally.
That's not a sign, though. I need a sign.
I don't know what you want me to say.
I need a moment in time sign like that.
It literally just made me think of the people that sit around a table and stare at a penny and say, God will make the penny move.
Right.
That's
kind of what God's asking him for, if he wants that. But like, I would be like asking God to fly, or like, what superpower do you want?
I just don't think about that stuff. I really just want to not yell at my kid. That's like all. That's all I want.
Moment by moment.
I really don't think of.
All right. Well, listen, simple pleasures. Okay, Jacob, what would you ask for?
I would appreciate the ability to climb anything. So like super strength, but I still look exactly the same.
Okay. All right. Yeah. You look the same, but you can like Mount Everest with your fingertips.
Exactly.
Okay. All right.
Okay. I feel like not yelling at your kid is a superpower.
That is a superpower, but how do you know you could do it?
You just don't ever yell at your kid again.
Right, I know. I guess like you just have a tantrum.
And so that sign
like God would give you a tantruming kid, and you're like,
it's like Ezekiel where you're muted.
It's like
until you say something positive.
Oh, yeah. See, I don't know. Yeah, if you like that, it's like, or do you get like Prozac?
Well, no, you just have like immense self-control to remain calm under high-stress situations.
Okay. All right. I'll get. Okay.
When my dad had me.
Mr. was in combat and like.
Militant parenting 101.
Yeah. I'm like, are you kidding me?
No,
right
I'm
now?
just saying that, like, yes, I don't know.
What if the sign was for Ava to never throw a tantrum again?
Yes. There you go.
Yeah, that would be nice. But I feel like it would be more beneficial if I could just exhibit wonderful self-control.
Okay, all right. So the power of self-control. All right,
Yes.
and you knew it would come on you. Bling, bling. I have it
Yeah.
now. All right.
Yeah.
Ashley, what about you? Any superpower that you would ask God for to give you for the sign?
I would really like to be fun.
Wait,
I am not a fun person. I mean, I'm married to the most fun person on the planet, so by
You are.
default, I look not fun.
That is true.
But I would just like to be like, free-spirited and just love life and go do things. Like I feel like I try
spontaneous?
hard to do that. Yeah, but the app where they pack a bag and you have to pack a bag for the cold weather or the warm weather, and then it just tells you where you're going. That's my nightmare. I would never want to.
Like
that gives you anxiety.
Not knowing what you're gonna do. Okay.
Wow. Okay, that's fascinating. Okay, well, so here's Ahaz, and personally, I would ask to fly. I said laser eyes in the sermon. And if I only got one shot at it, definitely flying, and it's like a 5-minute flight or something.
I have dreams about flying, and they're great.
They're great.
And terrifying, but great.
They're so awesome. All right, but then Ahaz says, I'm not going to test the Lord. Like, here's the weirdest thing. If he does the test, God would confirm it, and I think he's afraid of believing. And I don't know if you have any people that don't want to investigate Christianity because they're afraid their life would have to change if they looked into it. And I think that's what he doesn't want. Remember, it's way easier to change what you believe than to change how you behave. And if changing what you believe is going to lead to changing how you behave, you don't even want to go down to changing what you believe.
Nope.
So, so here is, he says, I'm not going to test the Lord with, I don't want any sign. And so then Isaiah comes at him and says, all right, is it too little for you to weary men that you also weary God? Therefore the Lord himself will give you a sign. Behold, the virgin shall conceive and bear a son and shall call his name Emmanuel, which is sort of a wild thought that like the whole prophecy about Jesus comes off of like a judgment of an evil king. Does that give you any sort of like, that's weird? Nothing.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of things about this section are
strange.
So,
but the cool part is it's the rejection of the evil king. It's the evil grandpa of Joseph. And Joseph doesn't make the wrong decision whenever he is given the prophecy of that that his wife is going to have a child. He's just like, I'm down. And he follows through and does all that he's supposed to do. So you kind of have Ahaz versus Joseph. Joseph is the better king in that sort of situation. But then also after this, you've got the prophecy is localized. And the tough thing about this too is the word virgin here is the Hebrew word alma, which can be interpreted young, unmarried woman, which for the most part is usually a virgin. But it also could just mean a young, unmarried woman. So it could be a future wife of Isaiah, someone who's not married yet, right? So there's a lot of ways you can go with that you can interpret it there. However, the cool part is it can be interpreted as virgin, which then fits perfectly for the virgin birth of Jesus, which is mind-blowing for me in many ways. And I love how and you don't see this fulfilled. Like there's no like, and here's Emmanuel running around. You don't see that. There's scholars.
I wish the Bible talked about Jesus as a toddler.
Yeah, like how he's perfect.
Well, I don't know. I mean, would he be perfect if he threw a tantrum every once in a while? Like, would he still be perfect, or is that?
I don't think he did that.
Yeah, I don't think.
Baby Jesus flipping tables.
Yeah. He's in preschool and just going,
This is blasphemy.
Fisher Price, no.
yeah.
Where's my freaking red cup?
All right, so I'm gonna go back to this real quick.
Yeah, sorry.
No worries. So yeah, you've got the Hebrew word which could mean virgin or young married woman, and so it could have easily fit for a localized in Judah, something that Ahaz could have seen. But Ahaz doesn't last much longer. He's only a king for a couple more years and then dies. And in fact, he's given he's buried in Jerusalem, but he's so low thought of that he's not buried with the other kings of Judah.
You know, I think it's really interesting, and you've brought this up too, how the prophets used like just the right word that was, it became very ambiguous, hundreds of years later, and we see that here, and
Yeah.
I'm just like, man, where else does that appear?
Several places. In fact, we're going to look at Isaiah 9. It's because this is where it's the same not the same prophecy, same person the prophecy's about, Jesus. For to us a child is born, to us a son is given, the government shall be upon his shoulder, and his name shall be called Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father, Prince of Peace. And so where do you see that being fulfilled by any of the kings, right? Like, because this would have been, is it Hezekiah? No, Hezekiah was already born at this point. Is it Manasseh? No, he was the evil king. Is it Josiah? No, because he's never called any of those things. The only one this could be attributed to is Jesus. And so I love that aspect, that the word mighty God, like nobody's thinking like God-man, but here is the God-man. And I love that aspect that Jesus, the mystery is seen here clearly. And I think it was a couple of sermons ago, it said, you will not understand it until it's told to you. Mm-hmm. Or until it happens. And this is exactly part of it. Nobody would have understood what this meant. For to us a child is born, to us a son is given, and the government shall be upon his shoulder. His name shall be called Wonderful Counselor, Mighty God, Everlasting Father, Prince of Peace. Wild.
There's something peaceful about the government shall be upon his shoulder.
Yes. Yeah, and eventually, when we get to Revelation 21, when we get to the end of the story, when we're not having to deal with sinful human beings who might even be filled with the Holy Spirit, still doing dumb stuff and are corrupt, and even on your best day, you can't think through all the possible permutations of a decision you make, which might have been the best interest of some, but then later on down the road, it hurts others. It's a very challenging thing, and so putting the government on Jesus' shoulder into perfection is pretty great.
Yeah.
All right. So let's talk about, we walked away with kind of wanting Jesus to be our Prince of Peace. A couple things I talked about. I mentioned that in the sermon that I had my kids destroy my house. And what I mean by that is they took Titus and Pax.
You had too much faith in your children.
Yeah. Usually they're fine. I mean, usually they're fine. Like they do like they give a forearm shiver off the top rope, and I'm dealing with somebody screaming that somebody hurt me, and that's usually fine. But they were giggling. I heard giggling, consistent giggling for about 2 hours, and I did not go up there until 2 hours in. And Titus and Pax are taking wads of toilet paper, dipping them in the toilet, and then throwing it on the ceiling, and they thought it was the funniest thing ever. And then they clogged the toilet somehow, and there's water everywhere. It's raining in the garage, and I was definitely for a moment lost my peace. But all was restored eventually. We called the insurance company, and I think this is the biggest piece for me that I wanted you guys to kind of comment on, is that we still, like the insurance adjuster is coming to our house in, right now. He's there right now. He's at our house at the moment with Adrian, and they're going over the damage and how much they're gonna pay, right? That's kind of, and so like the promise was, that's gonna be fine. So after today, we'll have a promise of the insurance is gonna take care of it, and that doesn't mean that our house is gonna have, because we had to poke holes to get all the water out and the mold to not happen. And there's no carpet in Paxton's room, and it's a mess. But all that's gonna be fixed, $21,000 worth of fixing is gonna be fixed. Yes. But there's a period of time that I have to wait for that to happen. And so I'm living in the already but not yet tension. And that's where all of us live with all of our life until Jesus comes and redeems it, is that we're waiting on the promise of God to fix it all. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. And that's kind of what Isaiah is promising, is that don't worry, it's going to be taken care of. You're in the promise is already here. It just has not yet been fulfilled. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah. I mean, man, we have Jesus' promises all throughout Scripture. Mm-hmm. Do we believe them? Are we waiting on them to be fulfilled?
Nice.
And that's where, like, my peace comes from, or is lacking, when I don't believe God's word, when I don't take him at his word.
Yeah, it's already not yet. Ashley, what about you? Is there anything in your life that you experience already not yet? And does it ever make you think about the promises of God?
Yeah, I think in terms of the promises of God, I feel like everything, original sin, we are all sinners, and we have to depend on this peace. It has to be peace that surpasses understanding. If it's not, is it really like faithful peace
right.
at that point, or is it just this illusion of peace in this moment? So always trying to not depend on what this feels like and this feeling, because yes, peace is a feeling, but I think it has to be something that logically doesn't make sense to, but I still have peace about it.
Right.
Yeah, I know, like, something that comes to mind is from this past Sunday. I did announcements, and I'm always terrified. And I had like a really strong cup of coffee before, and like my heart's pounding, I'm shaking, and so I just start praying. And what comes to mind is Joshua 1:9, where the Lord is, he tells him that he tells him, be strong and courageous, for God is always with him. And I was just reminded, I could walk up there and just freeze and say nothing and stare out into a crowd of people, but God is with me, and so I don't have to worry about that.
When I think trying to have this illusion of peace, being a controller, I feel like sometimes I just want everything to be quiet, everything to be this way, everything to be peaceful, or this moment that's like not real. Because you think in the Bible, all the people that had peace despite circumstance, had peace in prison cells, had peace despite the situation that was going around them. And so really trying to lean on that and learn to have peace despite maybe the current situation.
Yeah. Peace within the chaos.
Right. Okay, so we do have a question about this specific thing. I have a suggestion that the Emmanuel of the Old Testament was another prophet, Ezekiel. What do you think about it? Yeah, this gets into, is Ezekiel God with us? So remember, we're not talking about Isaiah 9:6. We're talking about Isaiah 7:14. That the version would be maybe that it was a young woman, and it's like one of those things where you say could be. I have a hard time with that. I don't see anywhere where you're gonna be able to pick that up. So, no, I don't think that Ezekiel is that one. But I think that's a fun way to look at it. Ezekiel does call himself the Son of Man a bunch, but you don't really get him a sense of he's never called God with us.
I'm reading Ezekiel right now in the Bible recap, and I never would have misinterpreted or understood Ezekiel as God.
Right.
Which would
or even because I don't think they're saying he's God. I think they're saying like that Ezekiel's presence on the planet
represented God with us.
Would be like a fulfillment of this prophecy. He would be called God with us, and we see Ezekiel with the dry bones, and he's resurrecting God's army. I mean, Ezekiel's really awesome because he's a sweet prophet, but I don't see that being fulfilled. And also, Ezekiel is a contemporary of Daniel's inside the Babylonian exile. Okay, so if Daniel and Ezekiel are contemporaries, this prophecy was supposed to happen before the kid turned, before he was old enough to know right from wrong. All this stuff was supposed to happen. So meaning Assyria would be, or rather Israel and Assyria would be defeated. And so that doesn't fit because you still have King Hezekiah, who has a great reign, does really awesome stuff. And then you've got Manasseh after that. So you've got a while till Ezekiel is on the scene. So no, I don't think there's any possible way that it would be that same person. Okay, let me see if any other questions. No other question on that. So any other thoughts on God's peace for us, that living the already not yet moment, that you could, some applicative things for people to walk away with?
I think God's peace is already within us, and we have to decide to walk in that and live in that.
You already have it. You just are not experiencing it right now.
It's like the fruits of the Spirit. It's like, don't pray for gentleness. Just pray that the Holy Spirit would allow you and help you to walk in gentleness.
Yes, I love that.
You already have all of those things within you. The same power that rose Jesus from the grave is already in you.
Nice.
And so you can choose to have the willpower to walk in that truth or to walk in the flesh. And so
what would you say to people who don't have Jesus and struggle to find the concept of peace? This is for anybody.
Oh, all right, you can come back to me. All right. I mean, a person that doesn't have Jesus can't have peace.
Right. Yeah.
Because there's definitely they're gonna glory in something other than Jesus. So their joy is found. Remember, all of our joy. When we talked about this in our Joy Week, when we worship something, when we glory in something, we receive joy from it. Mm-hmm. So when those people run out of gas, so to speak, so when whatever they're glorying in hits a dead end, they're going to find a real struggle and they'll just be more aware of the reality that their joy is temporary. And so I think that that's the helpful thing of being built to worship, is you know exactly when you're not.
Yeah. Everything in life will let you down outside of Jesus.
Right. And like, I think taking it back a week further to hope, like, what do we place our hope in? Like, if we're placing our hope in something of this world, like, you know, maybe it keeps us happy, not joyful, but happy for a moment or so, but eventually it's going to fail us. And then take it a step further, and like, this is a real question for anyone who doesn't believe, like, what's your hope after this life?
Right. Yeah, I mean, everybody's terminal. And I get most people would say, well, I'm just going to become tree food. And it's going to be great. I mean, I've several friends that they're just going to get as much out of this life as they possibly can, so that they are their own God. And when they die, they just see themselves as being plant food, and they're cool with that. And unfortunately, you know, it's like, you better be right, you know, because the consequence if you're wrong is, man, that was a really bad decision that affects your eternity.
Right. So if we are eternal creatures, I would be thinking past this life.
Yeah.
And I would want to get it right on this side of heaven.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
I have one of my children over there yelling at me, which is nice. All right. Any other thoughts before we wrap this up on this particular podcast? All right. Awesome. Hey, if you have any questions, just text us at 737-231-0605. Go to pastorplek.com, and you can just leave a message there for us. We'd love to hear from you. Make sure you subscribe and share and do all the things that you're supposed to do whenever you're helping out your favorite podcast. We would love to hear from you, and we'd love to get the message out to all continents that are habitable. Have an awesome week of worship.